This is Jeremy Zwinger with the Rice Trader. I just wanted to welcome you on another great week. It's been very interesting in rice, and it's now time for the fourth TRT summary that we're just doing through YouTube and trying to help out because we know the traders are busy. So for a long time, you know, our market's been just a piece of paper, and obviously this is just an example of us moving more electronic. You know, as we read the TRT, more electronic, as we go more electronic, and that's the type of direction we're going in. So in that note, for all of you, many of you shared your thoughts and ideas, and we just continue to welcome. We would like to look forward to what interesting things you'd like to hear. We're talking about doing interviews with companies and key rice professionals just to try to add to the community for rice. Perhaps even on some of our trips we'll highlight such a trade like Thailand or Vietnam or Cambodia, and just kind of give you a view, maybe a 10-20 minute video of what we see the trade activities and the trade developments in these regions, and maybe some major companies like Buehler or Phoenix or Alam or Louis Dreyfus, maybe even their executives will sit down with us at a time that's appropriate and just kind of talk about the market. So that's just some thoughts. Also, as I did last week, of course I want to invite you all to the World Conference. We've set the place in the hotel. It'll be October 10th to the 12th, which is our 10th year anniversary. So get registered and get your sponsorships going and get moving. It is going to be at the Marriott, though there are several hotels in that area, but we're looking forward to the next World Conference in October. We're also throwing an event to pick the chef that chooses the world's best rice on August 2nd, and we have some very nice media partners that will be announcing, so it should be a great event. In fact, we're going to be doing a rice beer contest, finding out can rice help us make a beer, and how is rice in beer, along with what is a very good rice as far as the chef community goes. All right, all that's nice and good. Let's get to the economics and what's happening in this market. It's a very interesting market, and excuse me, I'm also going to be looking at the TRT on the electronic form just to kind of add to some of these pieces. Of course, you know, a lot of the activity we see is around the Philippines, China, and Indonesia, as we mentioned the last few weeks. The NFA, of course, did take their tenders on the 22nd for the 250,000 tons. You know, we are seeing them open up, obviously, and it'll be interesting to see how much that moves. There's been a lot of activity in Vietnam. And there's a big question of how much supplies there really are left in Vietnam and why are prices so high and moving higher, it seems. We do see a nice crop coming off here soon, but there is going to be some short-term tightness. In addition to that, we continue our surprise that Thailand remains at a discount to everybody but India, being such a high quality and consistent market. But definitely you're seeing Thailand at a discount to Vietnam and Pakistan, even with the small price increase we've seen this week in there. In addition to that, of course, India remains the cheapest origin by a significant margin. With 5% being quoted in our price table, I believe at 415, but let me check. This is a good example of being electronic. Yeah, we're calling India at 415 this week, which is the same as last week. And like we've talked several times, and I won't be as in depth this week, you know, the price spread from Asia to the US is just too significant. 605 versus 415, having nearly $200 difference is just too significant, and you're going to see shifts. Especially the large crop we see the U.S. growing. There's just so much more we could talk about here too. There's a lot of details. There's activity going on with Nepal raising the import tax from 15 to 50%. But there's just a lot of activity. In a short video, it's tough to do that. So I'm just really highlighting some of the major points and then kind of directing you to the TRT. We do see world trade up nearly 6% after having a very slow start. This is probably what's pushing price. It's a very significant move. In addition to this, we see a lot of volatility politically. You know, oil going above 70, touching 80 is a very significant move which will affect our markets. But on the other side, we do see good crops. We do see very good crops throughout the world in wheat, corn, soybeans, and rice. But it has to be watched closely, especially as we move through a very difficult time. In addition to that, of course, the Middle East remains interesting. I don't want to get into the talk of politics and such there, but we all know we must watch that and all political moves. In addition, the Farm Bill has shown in the U.S. some activity. We see that the House failed today to reach an agreement, and this puts what's going to happen with the Farm Bill in great limbo. You have to realize, of course, it's an election year in the U.S. There is a high amount of political instability and conflict occurring with what direction the U.S. does go in. But how the U.S. moves in this is significant. There's also, of course, the continued push for the U.S. players to get fair trade, which has them putting a lot of WTO cases on players like China and other players to try to push them to trade and try to keep their tariffs in perceived line as far as they occur. So especially for China and India, I would watch this very, very closely. Outside of that, there's much more in the TRT, and again, a lot of activity with the Philippines. I would just end by saying I would definitely take a look at the China report. Last week, we did a very extensive report on parboiled. There's a lot of activity happening in China. We do see production estimates about 2.81% weaker in the coming year, which would be about 5.86 million metric tons. And we do see trade down a bit in the 2018 year. So check out that China report. It's in section 10 right at the end. It may seem like it's far from the beginning, but there is an immense amount of in-depth information about our #1 exporter in the world. With that, I just look for other thoughts you guys might have. I feel I'm going too long. I only really want to go to 3 to 5 minutes in these reports and maybe do secondary reports where I talk about other pieces of the market and how we're becoming more electronic and the world is getting closer. And I just look for you to also give us thoughts. Please share your thoughts on what you'd like to see as we help connect the world industry and share information. With that, I'm signing off, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week.